Extracurricular activities can gradually return to Toronto schools. Toronto Public Health has just released guidelines for school boards to bring back sports and other activities, something parents and students are thrilled to hear.
I'm so happy that this is finally moving forward, and I just think it's amazing news for our kids, and I think it's exactly what they deserve.
This Toronto mom has two children who attend school in the Toronto District School Board.
Education is not just sitting at your desk and learning. It's a very important part of it, but the extracurriculars are paramount to a child's early development and growth.
TPH issued guidelines for the return to extracurriculars today, less than 2 weeks after recommending a pause. Some of the suggestions include individuals from different schools and mixed cohorts limit interactions to the outdoors. High contact and high intensity activities are only recommended outdoors at this time. Masking isn't required, though it should be considered when possible. Low contact and low intensity activities are permitted indoors where masking and physical distancing is required. The health unit also says school bands may return, but without wind or brass instruments. TDSB spokesperson Ryan Bird says this is welcome news.
It's another piece that we can introduce to make it as normal as we can.
Chief Medical Officer of Health Dr. Davila says as routines and cohorts get better established in schools, the timing works for the reintegration of other learning tools.
Whether it's about the physical activity itself or the social interaction that you get with other students, team sports and learning how to cooperate and work together within a team. These are important life skills.
TPH says the return to extracurriculars should begin with students between the ages of 12 to 17, since they are eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine.
We're prioritizing that group of students who are now eligible to get the vaccine, but it's not a requirement.
Dr. Davila says with this move, there will likely be an uptick in cases.
We know that as more people interact, you're going to see more cases. The question, of course, is, how best do we reduce the likelihood of that transmission happening? And I think the kinds of advice and guidance that we've provided to school boards supports exactly that.
As for when students under 12 can get back to extracurriculars, it all depends on how it goes with this move. And as for when students can get back in action, there are various factors to consider.
Maybe an indoor club where the health and safety precautions are nearly identical essentially to what you would have in the classroom with masking and physical distancing. You might be able to get those up and running relatively quickly. Whereas another sport, you'd have to make sure that obviously there's a staff volunteer in place for coaches and that kind of thing.
Toronto Public Health says field trips can also gradually return for students between the ages of 12 to 17. Students should stick with their cohorts, and overnight field trips are not recommended at this time. In Toronto, Maleeha Sheikh, City News.